Alright everybody, welcome to week 5 over at the MMC Pokemon Draft League, where we have Justin versus Ash Ice Claw as our first match. Honestly, looking here, I do see that Justin pretty much brought the exact same team that he has been. Very similar at least, with the Mega Alakazam, Tinglu Pecharunt, and then Urshifu, Alcremie, and Bellibolt. Alcremie and Bellibolt being able to Tera. I think they have a decent enough matchup. I think Mega Zam is pretty spooky into this team. Psychic being able to be spammed into Claude, Aloe, Torn, and Dhelmise pretty easily. And then Gardevoir being able to be hit by Shadow Balls, and Obstagoon being able to get hit by Focus Blast. I think it's decently solid, but at the same time, he has to hit those Focus Blast for sure, especially considering that Obstagoon will 1000% be able to kill this. So that is definitely a risk there, but I do think that those 3 attacks plus a setup move is pretty solid into Ash Ice's team. Tinglu Pecharunt, insanely hard to break. Everyone knows this already. But I do think that Ash Ice has a different pretty solid matchup where they have Mega Gardevoir. I think Mega Gardevoir matches up decently into Mega Zam, being able to tank hits a little bit better and possibly be able to threaten it out a little bit better with Pixelate Hyper Voices. I don't quite know if that'll do more damage than Shadow Ball would, but I do think that Pixelate Hyper Voice does relatively scare most of Justin's team. Nothing really wants to switch in on that at all, aside from maybe a setup Alcremie or a fully specially defensive Bellibolt. And then, of course, Pecharunt being able to switch on very tight moves, but Mega Guard can just hit it with a Psychic move, so that is definitely one of the very risky things about it. So I think if Ash Ice can preserve the Mega Guard, especially in the back, I do think it has the possibility of cleaning through most of Justin's team once some of his more threatening Tera Captains go down, or once they show what their movesets are. Because I do think Alcremie could be pretty threatening to it with Tera Steel, for an example. And then, of course, you have the stall core of Claude, Aloe, and then even the Regenerator core with Regen Torn T. I do think both teams have a very solid matchup. I do think it could go either way depending on playing. So let's see how it all goes with the first turn. So here we have Urshifu Rapid versus Torn T. Very rough matchup for the Urshifu, as now Alcremie comes in right away, as this is just going to get Bleak Winded. Do 44%, a solid amount for sure, as we see this is leftovers. Do we see, oh, the Bleak Wind miss, that's really rough. The Draining Kiss gets him pretty much back up to full at this point. I do think going into Jean-Claude would probably be the best option. Guard is also pretty decent, I would say, but I do think this lets it just set up. So I'm not 100% sure, especially since taking damage on Guard right now isn't really the best thing, I would say. But going right out into Tinglu then, I think this is just a free Hyper Voice, no? Going for the Calm Mind immediately, trying to set up alongside the Alcremie, as now Draining Kiss is doing not much damage, honestly, as now this thing gets Heavy Slammed. I would say that is pretty rough letting Guard go down so low, especially considering how weak the team is to it. But now we see that Tinglu swaps out as Aloe goes for Flip Turn, as the Goon comes on in, the Radioactive Gooner. Do we see Pecharunt come on out? No, does this just go for a knockoff or Facade immediately? The Facade, and claims the kill on Alcremie. That's a big threat, just eliminated immediately. So pretty solid there, as now we see Urshifu Rapid Strike. Do we see a Tera immediately? We do not. Instead, we see Clodsire come on in. Okay, we don't see if this is a water move to see if this is Water Absorb or Unaware. Though I do suspect, since this switched in immediately, that it is Water Absorb. The crit Earthquake did a solid chunk. I don't know how much that crit mattered. We don't see that this is leftovers, so that is definitely something to note. As now Ruination knocks down the Dhelmise as the Throat Chop following KOs it. That might have some speed investment. 207. Okay, no, that's just raw outspeeds. As now we see a Bulk Up with no Tera. Okay, I see does this just go for a facade? Okay, taking out the Tinglu immediately. Pretty solid. The Goon putting in some solid work, but now it is definitely pretty spooky. I do think going into, no, not risking the Zam is probably the best option, I would say. Honestly, that being not very effective, it's either this is not physically defensive, or this is potentially choice band, I would see. Guard now coming in on Pecharunt, as now Pecharunt just claims the kill on Guard. That is pretty rough, I would say. Guard was really good into this matchup, I feel like, but I do think that it is doing decently as is. As we see a weakness policy Pecharunt to proc. Ooh, okay. I see. Okay, now this will just for sure claim a kill. Okay, no, going for the Aloe is now going for recover. Now this thing is at +2. It's gonna, yeah, this weakness policy Pecharunt I think just sweeps here now. We see the Torntea come on out, missing a Bleak Wind. I don't know how much that would matter. It kind of all depends on the stat investment, as now that crit Malignant Chain. I don't know, again, how much that mattered. This is at +2. We see 52, so that is likely unaware? No, this might just be specially defensive with unaware. Okay, or with Water Absorb, as now the Shadow Ball claims the kill on Claude, and now the Obstagoon claims the kill on Pecharunt, but it will in fact go down to the Urshifu coming out right after. So Justin claims the dub against Ash Ice for week 5 here. We do see the Terra Normal, but that will not save them from the close combat. Justin claiming the 3-0 dub. I do think that there was some RNG here. I don't know how much some of it mattered. I think Justin played very well, and I really like a lot of their sets. The Tinglu being able to heavy slam that Mega Guard, I think was very solid. Maybe if they went for Hyper Voice instead of Draining Kiss, maybe it would have done a little bit more. But at the same time, I don't really know. That seemed to be very especially defensive Tinglu, so I don't know if that would have even came close to killing. But you never really know. And then alongside all that, I really liked Ash Ice's play too. I think Obstagoon was pretty solid. The biggest thing that I think separated in this game was letting Guard go down so early. I think you had other options to being able to handle the Tinglu. Dhelmise getting knocked down so low, how it did with the Ruination and Throat Chop combo, I think was rough. I do think Aloe probably would have been the best answer into this, as you can just freely click Scald into it. And then once it's burned, it's not really as threatening to Guard. Like if you got the burn off before going for the Guard angle, getting Calm Mind and Draining Kiss up, I do think you would have easily been able to tank 2 and possibly be able to Calm Mind up and then heal up any damage that he does to you with Draining Kiss and possibly sweat from there. So that was probably the biggest thing that I would say about the battle, really like changing the tides. Though, again, both teams, aside from that, I think played very well. And let's get right into the second match then. Alright everybody, welcome to the second match where we have Patty versus Forza. First thing that I gotta say is I think Patty has an amazing offensive matchup here. Not really having any good switch-ins to set up a Zygarde, 1000 Arrows, everything being able to be hit at least for neutral is pretty spooky, I would say. Mega Steelix, I think, can tank decently, still taking super effective damage, but its bulk is already pretty insane on the physical side, so I do think that it can at least tank 2. So I think that is definitely something to note, and alongside all that, Ogerpon also has a very super crazy matchup here. Water type hits everything for neutral. Same thing with ground, like I mentioned with Zygarde. SD Ogerpon I think is pretty scary here, especially considering that nothing outspeeds Ogerpon on this team, unless of course they're running Scarf. Valiant does pretty well, I would say. Being able to hit everything for neutral. Mega Main, I think, is pretty solid because with Overheat, it can hit Mega Steelix, which is kind of the only thing outside of maybe Florges that really wants to switch on electric type moves. Entei even being able to just spam click Tera Fire like choice banded attacks. Chi-Yu being the only real switch into it, I think is definitely very spooky. And then on Forza's side, I do think he still has some solid options. I do think that no Sneasler is definitely very crazy, because Sneasler would have been able to outspeed Ogerpon, Valiant, all those kinds of guys, and be able to really threaten some things, I would say, because nothing really wants to tank the dual stabs of Fighting and Poison on Patty's team right here. So not having Sneasler here, I think, is pretty interesting. Though Forza has been having an amazing season, it's definitely possible that he's just trying to cook, which I could definitely see, and I 1000% respect. So let's just get right into it and see what they are planning. So first off, with the leads, we have Entei versus Frostlass. Okay, so are we just going to see the immediate, no Tera, okay, going just for the raw Sacred Fire with the Sash. Does he get the burn? He does get the burn to claim the KO on Frostlass immediately, only being able to get up one spike, but that is a 50-50. What you going to do about it? Going for the Psychic type immediately with Expanding Force. Claim the kill on Entei. I think that's definitely pretty rough, I would say. I think this was a pretty solid switch into Overquill guaranteed. So I probably would have risked Overquill rather than letting Entei go down there. Personally, I would say. And now we see Ogerpon Wellspring coming on out after Overquill is able to get up a spike. And now Mega Steelix gets up Rocks. No removal on Patty's side, so these are going to be sticking around. As now we see Ivy Cudgel doing not too much to Celesteela, and now we see the Celesteela reveals leftovers. Going into Manectric now. Going for the Leech Seed. Oh, this is an evil Steela. This is 1000% an evil Steela. Though, okay, going for the Mega, and then does... Okay, we go for the Protect Substitute. Okay. Now we see Flamethrower. Does he then switch into Chi-Yu, or does he go... Okay, goes into Florges. Pretty solid defensive wall, especially a defensive wall. Takes only 20 from a stab Volt Switch. That does not do much at all. And now Ogre Wellspring comes on in, taking a lot of hazard damage. As now Celesteela comes back in at full HP, going for knockoff. So no more leftovers on Steela's side. So I think that's pretty solid. Steela... Do we see a flying type move? We do. Okay. I think that's pretty fair to understand, to see Leech Seed Protect. Kind of the only thing that really wants to handle that is Ogerpon. So having flying type stab coverage to hit it, I think is pretty decent. And now we see Manectric coming on in as Florges comes back out, revealing Boots. I think it revealed it before. Flamethrower critting and doing a solid chunk. And now we see Thunderbolt. Do we see the Wish? Yes, we do. Oh, that's okay. Do we see a Flamethrower here now on the predicted switch? No, we do not, as now Steelix is back up to full. I do think Patty kind of has to just sack this and get off some damage. Doing a fat chunk to this Mega Steelix, I must admit. Putting it definitely in some decent ranges of potentially Zygarde, I want to say. Valiant, pretty decent, I would say for sure too. Okay, we just see the close combat. This is likely mixed, if I had to guess. No booster or anything. So this is possibly... Ooh, okay, we see Thunderbolt. I was going to say we could see Choice, but after seeing the swap, we know for a fact it is not Choiced. And now this Indeedee, I want to say is definitely Choiced. And now going for the Chi-Yu swap, do we see the Overquill, or do we see... Okay, we see Overquill, because that Indeedee is likely Choice Scarf. I didn't realize how threatening that thing was outside of Overquill against Patty's team. Now Zygarde comes on in against the Chi-Yu. Do we see that this is a... Ooh, this is a setup Chi-Yu with Flame Charge. Though I don't think Chi-Yu... Okay, does not claim the kill. Do we see a flinch? We see no flinch. No flinch in the slightest. 1000 Arrows claims the kill on Chi-Yu. Indeedee comes on in. Now this is a bit of a... Okay, We see the Draining Kiss here, risking the Scarf expanding force, but the Draining Kiss does not claim the kill, and 1,000 Arrows should be able to KO from here. Yes. Okay. Like I said before, Zygarde, pretty solid matchup, I would say. Now Florges comes on in and likely just dies to 1,000 Arrows now. Great matchup, guys. I think Forza definitely played very well, made some good plays. The only thing that I would probably have said is I do think the hazards are pretty nice here, but I think leaving Frostlass on the bench and bringing Sneasler probably would have been a better option, because I do think if this was Sneasler in the back instead of just like the Suicide Lead Florges, I do think that Sneasler would have just been able to pick up the game, I think. It kind of just depends on what the Overquill stats were. Yes, he would be able to switch in and get the attack raise, but at the same time, Valiant wasn't Scarf, so realistically, he could have been Choice Banded and still have been pretty fine, I would say. So it kind of all just depends on how all that stuff would have went, and at the same time, not having the Spike Up definitely would have changed a few things. A lot less hazard chip, so who knows, I might be wrong with that assessment, though I just think that maybe Sneasler would have offered a little bit more offensive pressure here than Frostlass did with the hazards. But I hope you all enjoyed the second match. Let's get right into the third one here. Here we are with the third match, where we have Old Man versus Cran. Looking at it here, Darkrai, I am pretty not a big fan of Darkrai, or Midcry as I like to call him. But I do think he has a solid enough matchup here. I think matching up into Spectre decently well, outside of maybe Draining Kiss, is pretty solid. Being able to spam click Dark Pulses pretty easily. Though I will say the Samurott does offer a bit of defensive pressure on the Darkrai, mainly just because it forces him to click Focus Blast into it, rather than just being able to freely click Sludge Bomb even, because I do think in Assault Vest, Samurott does handle Darkrai pretty easily, especially since the only electric type coverage that he gets is Thunder, which is kind of in the same boat as Focus Blast. And then you kind of know that he is going to be running Ice Beam for the Goodra, I feel like. But I do think Assault Vest Goodra, like I said, does pretty decently into Darkrai too. And then outside of all that, Zeraora could be kind of spooky for sure. I don't know exactly how it would be able to threaten Goodra, though if it is a more especially oriented Goodra and a physical Zeraora, I do think that could be a little spooky, especially after it Teras. Magnezone I think is pretty scary into Wolf's team. Tangrowth I think is decent into most things, I would say. The only thing that it's really terribly threatened by, especially of course, is Spectrier. Magnezone, possibly if it's like an offensive Magnezone with like a Flash Cannon or something, or even like, I don't remember what the Terra types are, but if it's Terra Fire, that could be pretty spooky. And then like Special Goodra. I think this is pretty interesting here. Fez, I think, offers a lot of defensive utility for this team, though Magnezone does handle Fez pretty well. So it all just sort of depends on how they are able to play, I feel like. I think both players are playing very well this season, so let's just see how this all ends up going here. Okay, so for the leads, we see Blastoise, Mega Blastoise, and Mega Gallade leading off with the Megas on each. Now we see the Mega immediately on both sides as just going for Leaf Blade, doing a solid amount of damage to this Mega Blastoise, as we see a Rapid Spin right away. Possibly being able to outspeed. Yes, being able to outspeed, and gets the Confusion on Mega Gallade. Does not make it hit itself. So trading big damage on the Mega Gallade for Mega Blastoise, as now Zeraora is able to come on in, and the Magnezone comes out as well, going for a knockoff. No Assault Vest then, so that could be pretty bad into the Darkrai matchup, I could say. Now going for Body Press instead of a special attack. As we see Tera flying. Okay, flying is definitely, it's solid into the Tangrowth. Going for knockoff now. But the regen is able to bring it back up, so I can see the vision. And now going for the flash cannon on the Terrakion, claiming the kill. Ooh. I do think Zeraora probably was the best switch in here, mainly just because you know for a fact he can't really threaten you with any of its moves at that time, so I think Terrakion wasn't the best option. But now we see bulk up Zeraora as Rillaboom comes on in, and now going into Bez, as we see it, I think that is banded. I do, actually, wait, yep, I do think that's banded. Ooh, banded Rillaboom could definitely pose a pretty big threat into Wolf's team. Now we see the Mega Gallade on the Roost. Do we see the Zen Headbutt immediately as Darkrai comes in? Going for the Trippy Aki. Expecting Tangrowth or something if I had to guess. But now, do we see a setup on the Darkrai? No, we just see Darkrai claiming the kill on Mega Gallade, going for the sack instead of risking this thing setting up. I like the play on both sides. I definitely see the vision there. And now Goodra comes on in. Do we see a Tera Water, Tera Fairy? No, we just see raw Flamethrower, as they were likely expecting Tangrowth to switch in, I would think. Now the Samurott switches in on the Moonblast. I do think this is Assault Vest. Do we see any hazards going on up? Ooh, getting the Toxic and the Special Attack drop. I don't think the Special Attack drop mattered, but it is definitely sad. And now Magnezone coming on in, just clicking a U-turn on the Magnezone, as now Zeraora comes on in. Likely seeing that you can't really threaten him too much. Flash Cannon does a solid amount of damage for sure, as now we see Tangrowth coming in, and Goodra switching back in. If this is Sap Sipper, okay, it might still be Sap Sipper. I'm not 100% sure, but I probably wanted to keep its item if I had to guess. As now Samurott goes on down, and Spectrier comes on in. Tangrowth, does this... Okay, we don't see what item that is already, so that is likely Assault Vest. As now Shadow Ball does a solid chunk to Darkrai. Man, this thing is so mid. As now we see Dark Pulse on the Darkrai as Rillaboom switches on in, being able to live the hit and now threaten the team with banded Grassy Glides. Doing no damage to this Tangrowth, letting it be able to heal up with Regenerator and the grassy terrain that was set up. Now we see Goodra coming on in, getting knocked off. Seeing that it's a Custat Berry, okay. I'm interested to see what the tech is for that. Unless it's just wanting to get a little bit extra chip damage, I could definitely see that. And now we see Fez coming on in on the Goodra. And now we see the switch into Spectrier. I think if they went for the attack there and got the poison, I think that could definitely have been really scary. But now Shadow Ball going to just do big damage into this Fez. As now U-turn coming on in, and no poison. Do we see... Okay, this definitely could be a Covert Cloak. But now Rillaboom comes on in. I might have wanted to sack... I think Magnezone is decent here for sure. But I do think Rillaboom... no, Rillaboom wasn't really needed for Tangrowth or Fez, so I do think that was solid. Flamethrower now coming on in against the Tangrowth. What do we see here now? Okay, just going for the Flamethrower on Tangrowth, as now Sludge Bomb is doing no damage, but gets the poison on the Goodra. That just did no damage. I would have definitely thought that was Assault Vest. That's just specially defensive Goodra. Flamethrower doing a solid chunk against the Fez. This might be a roll. I'm not 100% sure how much damage it was doing earlier, but it doesn't matter, as now we see Fez going for the Roost as Spectrier comes back in. Spectrier likely going to just click Shadow Ball. Yep, as now Fez is just going to get a slow U-turn off and hopefully get a poison. And he does get a poison. Going for the Hail Mary poison on this thing is Darkrai coming back in to threaten this squad. Letting Spectrier go down there, I don't know if I quite agree with that. I definitely think that Goodra probably would have been a better swap here. Getting a crit Dark Pulse, I don't know if that exactly mattered, but definitely did not feel good. I do think that Goodra was just better. I don't know. I think Goodra would have been better to swap in here. I think there was only so many more times that Bez would have been able to switch in, as well as Tangrowth. Nothing was wanting to switch in at that point, so I do think going for the Goodra would have just been better there instead of sacking Spectrier. At least would have been able to give you a fighting chance, because now you just spams Roost as the poison slowly ticks down this Goodra. So okay, claiming the Moonblast. I see you. Very good there. But yeah, pretty rough for sure. I do think that Wolf played that very well. Letting Tracheon go down against the Magnezone probably wasn't the best play. I do think that Zeraora would have been better there, but at the same time, I do think Cran at the very end could have swapped into Goodra or even Magnezone instead, because then I do know for a fact Goodra would have been able to at least like somewhat scare the Fez, the Tangrowth, something along those lines. Or even be able to threaten a double swap into the Spectrier. I do think that would have been a better idea than just letting it go down to the Darkrai. But that, at the end of the day, is what the plan is. So, I hope you all enjoyed this match. Let's get right on to the next one. Alright everybody, welcome to the fourth match where we have Vinny and Dragon versus Drees. Vinny has been on a bit of a losing streak lately. He played his first two games incredibly well, but then his last two, they ended up resulting in a loss. So, and then Drees is starting to come on the up and up, having the exact opposite, being able to claim a couple dubs after having a pretty rough initial part of the season. So overall, how do I think that it matches up? I do think Drees has a decent enough matchup. When I actually helped Vinny with mocking against Drees' team, I brought Tapu Koko over the Bronzong, mainly just because I thought that Bronzong didn't really offer too much against the Skeletors and Weavile team. Though that's just me personally, I do think it offers a decent amount of defensive use case against Mega Aggron, Iron Leads, as well as being a solid switch into Clefable, especially if it's an offensive Clefable for that matter. So I do think it is definitely worthy of its position on the team. Though no Tapu Koko means that Iron Bundle and Iron Moth are not going to be getting their boosters unless they are carrying the booster energy. I do still think that Zydog has pretty solid potential against Vinny's team here, but overall, I do think Vinny has a slightly decent matchup. Milotic, I think, can definitely be very spooky for his team to break. Iron Leaves does a decent enough job, though if it is choice, it does not enjoy having to click Psyblade into it, predicting either Bronzong or Mega Venu coming in, or even Iron Moth for that matter. So its stabs are definitely very easily to take advantage of, especially considering that its coverage moves, being Night Slash and Close Combat, don't really help exactly in creating those neutral damage rolls. So I don't quite know how this will end out here. I do like Vinny's offense with Skeletors and Weavile being able to threaten most of Drees' team decently, but it just sort of all depends on how things go. This Tera Tatsugiri also can be a decent Iron Bundle answer, because, spoiler alert, I know already, he is Tera Fire with Storm Drain to always be able to switch in against Iron Bundle. So let's just get right into it with the first round here, or I mean the leads I should say, as we see Mega Aggron against Zygarde. So this is either going to be a swap or an immediate Mega. Okay, as we see a Terra Ground and Earthquake, so no Thousand Arrows, but Earthquake does a fat chunk, I would say, to this Aggron, doing 51%. And barely missing out on the KO against the Mega Aggron, as now Body Press knocks him down to 15 HP. Pretty solid, I would say. I don't know if that's exactly worth the worth all of that, but I do saving the HP on Mega Aggron and instead tanking that on Iron Leaves. I personally would have sacked Mega Aggron there, and then let Iron Leaves be able to come in afterwards. But again, that's just me. I think that having Mega Aggron at 4 HP is not really that useful, especially now that rocks are up. so you have to bring in Tatsu to Rapid Spin. Which, I mean, it's understandable, but at the same time, I'm just not fully sure about it just yet. As we see the Dragon Pulse on the Tatsu, specifically for the on the Milo for the Tatsu, is what I'm trying to say. Is now we see Recover on the Tatsu, and that only doing 19%. We see that as Assault Vest. And now Flip Turn on the Milotic into Venu. Venu's definitely going to threaten a good amount of this team because Mega Aggron can't switch in and nothing else really enjoys switching in on Mega Venu. That Sludge Bomb is doing a fat chunk, including getting the poison, so that is going to be really rough, and we see that this is not Magic Guard. He's got the fake Magic Guards. And now Dirge comes on in against the Mega Venu, predicted by Drees with the Earth Power. Yeah, now that's just doing a fat chunk to this Skeletors here, as now that is doing negative damage, I would say, with that Torch Song. And now, yeah, he has no Mons down, but so many things are weak. Tatsu being at half, Dirge being at 34, Clefable being at 16 and poisoned, Aggron being at 4. His switch-ins are incredibly limited right now. So he is definitely on the back foot. Drees may technically be on losing right now when it comes to Mons, but when it comes to HP, he is 1000% winning this game right now. So then we see the Earth Power on Mega Aggron as it goes down. Like I said, it did absolutely nothing. I think sacking it would have been earlier on would have been better, keeping up the momentum and the tempo for Vinny's team. And now we see Weavile come on in as Milotic switches in on it, going for the triple axle, doing absolutely 0 damage, I would say. And he's likely going to swap. Oh no, going for the Trailblaze instead, getting a +1 speed. Okay, as he goes for Recover. I think risking the burn there was not the best, but yeah, whatever. I see the vision somewhat. Going for Scald, not getting burned. Definitely very lucky there. But then I think Milotic can. Okay, just going for Recover for free. As now Tatsu is coming on in. Can't really do too much. It's kind of relying on Clefable for the heals, but now it's just getting Dragon Pulsed. It's definitely not the nicest thing in the world for Vinny for sure. All of his bulky mons being at such low HP is definitely not the best in the world. This Clef now gets outsped by this Milo and will just go down before it can get a wish off. Ooh, no! Going for... This is either a very slow Milotic or a fast Clefable. So interesting. I like it, being able to heal up the Tatsu. Actually, no, healing up the Dirge instead. Oh, I see it. Going for the double, so he wasn't going to get hit by the water move. I respect it. But now we see the Tatsu and getting the Storm Drain boost. Okay, I see you. Going to get off a decently strong Draco, but I do think, yeah, does not really matter. I can kind of just click Recover for free. Yeah, I think, but I don't really know what else Vinny can do here, to be honest. Dirge being at 64, yeah, is fine, but 16, okay. That Draco miss likely did not matter. This is very specially defensive. Yeah, that's, yeah. Now Tatsu not going down. This Tatsu is just staying around. Draco doing nothing. Do we see? Yep, just a free synthesis now. Drees is definitely managing his HP way better, I would say, here, as Terra Blast does negative damage. Sludge Bomb claiming the kill on Tatsu. Yeah, everything else being so weak right now. The triple axle, this still does no damage against this Venusaur. Just not outputting nearly enough damage, and then just getting chipped down way too much by Drees' team, especially considering that with Recover, Synthesis, he's able to just keep himself healthy against Vinny's offensive mons. Iron Leaves taking all that damage early on definitely really hinders its ability to tank hits in the late game. As now we see Weavile trying to go for Trailblaze. Yeah, this is kind of just how it's going to go now. Just going to get whittled down, and yeah, maybe claim the lead early on with that with that Zydog kill, but at the same time not getting that momentum up early with that Aggron sack, and instead risking that really bad momentum swap with Iron Leaves. It definitely made things really difficult for Vinny in the late game here, because now Iron Bundle is able to just come in as Dirge now comes on in. We see that this is not Choice Scarf, and it's instead Heavy Duty Boots. As now Flipturn is a solid chunk to Skeletors, I can't lie. And now Iron Moth comes on in on the Dirge, takes 0 damage from Torch Song. And now the rest of Vinny's team, I do think, will just be whittled away here. As now Iron Moth claims the kill on Dirge and leaves, gets just hard swapped on into Bronzong, as we see Psyblade do 0 damage. And now Bronzong claims the kill against this Iron Leaves. That was just a systematic just whittle down of a team. Vinny claimed the lead early on, but by not letting Aggron go down and instead letting Iron Leaves take 50% from Zydog before claiming the kill, it really put him on the back foot, especially in the late game. I don't know how much that HP would have mattered, but I think if he sacked Aggron instead and went into Weavile, for example, or even still Iron Leaves and preserving that HP, he would have been in a significantly better momentum position, because he could have just freely clicked knockoff, or even just gone for triple axle. I think anything that he really wanted to go for, he could have. He could have gone for Trailblaze if he was expecting Milo. He could have gone for a Trailblaze expecting Iron Bundle. He really opened up the amount of options that he had. Whereas switching in and taking all that damage on Iron Leaves and claiming the kill with that then gave Trees the momentum to be able to switch in on that, counter it, and then force Vinny in this cycle of slowly losing more and more mons. That was probably the biggest thing that slowly whittled down Vinny's team over time. It all started with that initial swap instead of letting Aggron go down. I do think outside of that play, I think both teams played very well, especially Drees. He played around his heels incredibly well. You can definitely tell he is a defensive balance player. And then Vinny just slowly but surely just getting whittled down. I think he was doing the best that he could. He made some good doubles, but it was just not enough to bring back the momentum that he had lost early on in the match, just to claim that one mon's life. So just keep that in mind whenever you guys are playing your guys' matches. Sometimes it's better to just let those low HP mons, even if they do look good in the late game, if you're able to get a wish off on them, sometimes it's just better to let them go down and preserve the momentum. Because if he would have let Aggron go down, then Zydog would have gone down following after that too. And then on top of that, then Vinny would have been able to be in a much better position with a much healthier mon in that case, rather than one mon at half HP and another mon at 4 HP, which was practically dead. So that is my analysis of the 4th match here, and let's get right into the 5th one.
Alright everybody, welcome to the 5th match. By the way, if my audio sounds any more crisp at all, it's because I actually got a new microphone, so I hope you all enjoyed that. But outside of that, here we have Jay versus Mana Burn. Honestly, looking at the matchup, I think Mana has a pretty solid matchup here. I do think Mega Pince is able to hit pretty much everything on Jay's team insanely hard. The only thing that is worth noting is that this is probably Tera Electric Araquanid here if I absolutely had to guess. Though I will say Tera Electric when the Excadrill is there is definitely pretty spooky. But it also does help it deal with Rotom Heat as well, which I don't think Jay really has anything that really takes on aside from Araquanid, Liquidation, or Surf. And if they don't Tera into an electric type, it's kind of a little rough if this is offensive Rotom Heat, like the Nasty Plot set. And even without that, I do think that it could be pretty spooky. And then Deoxys Speed, I think, is pretty solid here. Mega Scizor, I think, has a fairly good matchup here, honestly, outside of exactly Rotom Heat. But if Rotom Heat goes down early, I could see Mega Scizor putting in some serious work. Excadrill, I think, is really, really good here, especially considering that if they really wanted to, they could run Mold Breaker Rocks to set up rocks against Hatchrin, which would be pretty funny, I can't lie. But Mold Breaker in general is just really good into their team because it also ignores Terra Shell on Terapagos. So if it is a Rapid Spin Sword Stance set with just like EQ, EQ hits their entire team. So that could be very spooky for Jay. But anyways, guys, let's get right into the 5th match here. Okay, so for the leads, we see Hat and Rotom Heat. Okay, just gonna go for the Volt Switch immediately. Yes, that's exactly what goes on. Hit Fat Chunk, so that's either not invested Hat or that could be offensive Rotom Heat, I think. Unless I'm just severely underestimating Hat here. Hat going for a Calm Mind, as now Dio just goes for Light Screen. Okay, screens Dio, interesting. And then the Hat, I think the Hat just sets up Calm Minds, yeah. No real reason not to. I could see it a little spooky going for this, yeah, with Excadrill right there. But it does still do a... It still does a chunk, and this probably lives in Iron Head unless it's banded. Okay, going into Scizor now. Ooh, that did a chunk. That might be banded. I don't quite know for sure because sometimes I do severely overestimate Scizor as they go for Defog, defogging away all the screens. As now Rotom Heat comes on in to just Volt Switch on Hat coming in again, and then probably bringing in Excadrill. Yep, that's exactly what happens. Might just go for Earthquake now, because I do think their Earthquake switch-ins are pretty limited. Yeah, going into Scizor, Earthquake, yeah, that does over half. That's gonna just, okay, now going for a Rock. Oh, that's a resisted hit, guys. That's insane. Going for Roaring Mid now, as Liquidation does over half and drops the defense, but that probably doesn't really matter too much, as Knockoff just claims the kill on a Rock. Wow, okay, just letting that go down. And now Terap. Ooh, I mean, I can see the vision, just going for Knock, breaking the Terra Shell. I think going for Rapid Spin would be the best. Oh, okay, Rock Polish also kind of does the same work. All right, and we see it was the Power Herb set too. Ooh, that Ice Beam did no damage. Tera Starstorm doing a fat chunk, but now, yep, getting up the light screen. Going for the Tera Starstorm yet again. So this is definitely okay. Yeah, now Excadrill just threatens to KO this with Earthquake now, and their switch-ins to EQ is getting severely limited. Okay, Sash Exca, or not Sash Exca, Gengar. And now Roaring Mid here, going for Destiny Bond. This does underspeed the Roaring Moon. Okay, does this go for D-Gleam? Okay, if that wasn't the weakness policy, okay, I think Roaring Moon just wins now. That was a great tech with screens. I love that. That's a super cool tech. Yeah, because now Knockoff should just be able to claim the dubs here. Mana, I believe, oh, maybe this is Vacuum Wave. Mach Punch, so not even Vacuum Wave, that's just a raw Mach Punch. All right, maybe I would have gone into this before Hat, but at the end of the day, what you gonna do? And now Diancie comes in, doesn't go for the Terra, just goes for the raw Diamond Storm, does not get the proc. And now EQ's knocking it somewhat down. Diamond Storm really hoping to get that +2, and of course he does not get it 2 times in a row. 50% chance, by the way. And now Mega Scizor comes on in, and I think okay, I was gonna say either he Terras or he goes for the Rotom. Rotom Heat coming in, that's a quad resisted hit, as now Overheat cooks the Scizor. And I do believe Mana should just be able to win from here. I do think that Exca and Mega Pince together should be able to break this for sure, even if, yeah, okay, just going for the Meteor Beam. Does not live 2, barely lives 1. But yeah, this does not, actually that did, considering that's a quad resisted hit, that did do a chunk. But yeah, Excadrill claims the kill on Terap, and Mana wins this round with 4-0 dub. Pretty interesting for sure. I do think that a rock being the only ground resist was definitely pretty spooky into this team for sure. I think the only other thing that you really could have done though is gone with fully max Fizdef Mega Scizor, and then maybe like SD or something along those lines. But at the same time, like I know that it's really difficult to figure out what you really want to do to handle this Exca, because I do think this is choice. I do think this is a choice at Exca. I don't believe he revealed the fact that he could swap moves. I don't know if it's Bandit or Scarf. I don't know how Excadrill built like that. But regardless, the very good match for sure. I do think that Jay had some pretty interesting tech. Terap losing its power herb definitely was pretty rough, because I do think that if it was able to keep up the power herb and get that off, I do think Mana had some difficulty switching in. But overall, I hope you all enjoyed, and let's get right into the next match here. Alright everybody, welcome to the next match. Here we have Iger versus Kennybot. Honestly, looking at it here, of course, I do think Kenny has a fairly good matchup. I think Great Tusk can be very good here, especially with Heavy Slam for Sylveon. And then Silvally is just not really that great of a mon, if I'm going to be real. But at the same time, with the right type, it could maybe do something. Funnily enough, I think that Scolipede actually has an amazing matchup here. Mainly just because I feel like after one SD, EQ, Mega Horn, and Rock Slide can just sweep, potentially. Like EQ for Gold, Incin, and then Rock Slide for Zapdos, and then Mega Horn kind of just handles the rest, aside from Great Tusk, of course. But with Great Tusk needing to switch in and tank hits from his other mons, or switch out, I mean, and also him having like Suicune, Swampert, Metagross, Sylveon, and even potential like super effective Silvally form, Great Tusk does not love taking hits here. So generally, I could see it going either way, especially if Arboliva is like a Tera Fire set, because then of course you could go Tera Fire on the Mega Horn, and then go for the Tera Blast Fire, killing the Scolipede. But then if he gets red and goes for Earthquake, yada yada yada, and also Earthquake's damage does get halved by grassy terrain if he's a Seed Sour set. So many different factors that I feel like could sway the tide of battle. So let's just see how it all goes. Alrighty. So here we have a Suicune versus Starmie for the lead. Okay, do we see a Toxic come out from either of these fellas here? Going into Zapdos, as yes, Suicune goes for Toxic. And then I imagine we would see Volt Switch or U-Turn, and then Swampert comes out on Hurricane instead. And Hurricane does a chunk, it does a fat chunk. I don't know if that would be possibly especially defensive, bulk invested, or AV, I'm not sure. And now we see Arboliva coming in on the knockoff, leftovers being taken, but still basically gets leftovers with the grassy terrain. And now, ooh, Swampert going for Mirror Coat. I think that definitely shows that it's Rindo Berry for the Arboliva. And then we see a Sunny Day Incin. That is quite hilarious. I can't deny. And now Sylveon going for Protect as Incin goes for Parting Shot. Stalling out the Sun turns. I respect it. Ooh, that Flare Blitz hurts. That hurts. Okay. Going for Wish. I imagine that's just going to be a Wish Protect. As, yeah, that's probably going to get them back up to just about full. Okay, no Protect. Okay, just flat out risking the KO there with Flare Blitz. That's definitely a ballsy play, but I respect it. And now we go for the Tera Fire Arboliva, going for Growth. That is awesome. I love that set on Arbol. an Arboliva. That's really funny. And now we see... Do we see a Terra Blast Fire? No, we just see a Giga Drain instead. But Grassy Terrain is up, so if they do go for Earthquake, it's not going to do much. Going for Toxic. I hate Toxic. I hate Toxic. This is a rant for another day. But yeah, now we see Arboliva getting the KO on Metagross. Arboliva definitely has a shot of, at the bare minimum, handling a decent chunk of the team. Now we see Sylveon going for Calm Mind. Okay. Do we see another Sunny Day on Ensign, or do we... Okay, we do see another Sunny Day on Ensign. Is now Hyper Voice. Does a fair bit, can't deny. Do we just see a Flare Blitz come on out? Going for that. Okay, going for Parting Shot. I imagine going for Parting Shot into Arboliva, trying to get more growths up. Okay, no, just going into Golden Go. Going for Wish. Going into Swampert. Okay, I respect it. Especially since Nasty Plot, he doesn't really want to be forced to tank an Earthquake after, unless of course he's Shuka Berry. Okay, and then we see, ooh, the special defense drop. Yep, and then that's Shuka. He definitely would have lived that though. But yeah, Shadow Ball claiming the kill on Swampert now. Okay, so now we see that Suicune is a fairly good spot right now. Going for another Nasty Plot. Going for Calm Mind alongside the Golden Go. Honestly, a little spooky there. Yeah, that Shadow Ball is doing a fair bit. And then of course we see the Scald Burn on Golden Go. I always forget that even though Scald can burn regardless, that it can still burn Golden Go. Then we see two 53 rolls, and the Golden Go takes out the Suicune. Scolipede comes on in, goes for the EQ, claiming the kill on Gold. Could have swapped into Zapdos, but Golden Go wasn't really switching in on anything anyways. And now we see Great Tusk, and it's a Silvally flying. Okay, man, he really did just have 5 Mons that absolutely destroyed Great Tusk. Now we see U-turn on the Silvally, and Sylveon coming back in. Do we see a Heavy Slam here? No, we just go into Ensign, and then Ensign will likely try to maybe set up the Sun again. Either that or we'll try the Parting Shot. Okay, going for the Sunny Day here. And now Sunny Day, Calm Mind. I think he should just go for Flare Blitz for the damage on this. Okay, going into Arbo. Going for the Wish. Not a bad idea, not a bad idea. Kind of a wasted wish. Now going for Growth. Honestly, I would probably go for another Growth here. Okay, yep, because this does outspeed the Sylveon. I don't think he would live Hyper Voice here. I think he has to go for it. Okay, going for Protect. Going for the Giga Drain. Yep, trying to get a little bit of healing off. I don't think you heal enough to be able to live definitely the Hyper Voice into Toxic Chip. Oh, just going for Wish. Just stalling it out. Oh, man. Now this is why I dislike Toxic. I absolutely hate it in that Dex. Going for Sylveon. More Calm Minds here. Sylveon is in a really good position right now, especially... Well, yeah, it just really is. Yeah, claiming the kill there. Maybe I would have... Okay, do we see a Heavy Slam here with Booster Attack Tusk? Just going for Headlong. Okay. Okay, so honestly, this all kind of depends on if Starmie, Arbo, or Zapdos can claim the kill on Sylveon. Okay. I don't think that's the best option, especially since you died a Toxic now and you just let him get a Wish Up for free. Yeah, that's kind of I probably would have gone for, just gone for the damage there. I don't know if it would have been able to kill from there. Like, it definitely was a pretty rough moment. Crit Hyper Voice, that sucks. I don't know how much it mattered. Because this Sylveon is at +3. Or not at +3, it's even higher than +3. Hurricane, 10%. How much damage was he at before? I can't remember how much it was at. It was at 18, okay. So if Hurricane did 10%, maybe Tera Blast Fire in the Sun could have potentially KO'd here, depending on what Arbola's investment is. I mean, Arbol has a natural higher special attack stat than Zapdos does. I don't know for sure. It might have been a roll, but even just going for any damage there, I think would have been better. Just because, like, then you're going for the crit potentially. And then from there, I do think that Zapdos is able to break through Scolipede and Silvally. So that's definitely probably what I would have done. I don't know how, I don't know what the thought process was exactly, but regardless, that was definitely a very good match for sure, going back and forth quite a bit from both individuals, especially since Iger was 3 down for most of the match and then just happened to get Sylveon in a really good position to potentially sweep. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this match, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Alright everybody, welcome to the 7th match. Here we have Legion versus Renegade. Honestly, Renegade has been having an amazing season so far. He's been doing incredibly well, and so has Legion for that matter. Both teams have been playing out of their minds lately, I can't deny. And now they face off against one another, and who do I think has the better matchup here? It kind of depends on what you're talking about, because I do think Garm has a really solid matchup. I do think that Scarf Garm is kind of needed here. But generally, like, Gren doesn't like switching in on ice moves. Arcanine is kind of your best option into ice and fire moves, but then that also gets hit by Earthquake. And then everything else kind of gets hit by the combo of fire and ice moves. So all you need is Icicle Crash, Flare Blitz, or Fire Punch, I guess, and then U-Turn on your Scarf set, and I think you hit everything for at the bare minimum neutral. And I think that could be pretty scary for Renegade to have to deal with, especially since, like, if that Arcanine ends up tearing, then you have no reason to just not click ice moves. Like, nothing else really enjoys switching in on ice moves, because even Gren will take a solid, like, 40%, I feel like, from an Icicle Crash, if I had to guess. And then outside of that too, I also think Sandy Shocks on Renegade's team is very threatening here. I think, I'm not sure exactly what set specifically would be best, but Ground into the Raging Bolt team, into Jellicent, the electric moves. Heracross I think is okay with Tera for sure. I think it could be, I see the vision. I see the vision with it. It just depends what the Tera type is, because that Megalop has been a monster to deal with this season. So let's just get right into it and see how it all ends up going down. So for the first, for the lead here, we have Dragapult and Darm. Oh, he just risks, unless of course Dragapult himself is scarfed. That is also a possibility. Not 5%, but that was quad resisted. I don't know if that would be Scarf or not. And then we see Booster Treads coming on out. Interesting that you'd pop the booster right away, especially considering I don't think Corby is all that threatened by you. But now we see the U-turn as Treads goes for the Rapid Spin, and that was 1000%. 1000% Choice Scarf there at that point. But the Fire Blast just KOs the Treads, funnily enough. That did a lot. And then we see, ooh, Flash Fire Arcanine. Ugh. Okay, so now Jellicent comes on in on the Flare Blitz. Ooh, that did 50. Okay, but I mean the Rocky Helmet and everything, that did do a chunk. Going for Wild Charge now. Crit, don't think the crit really mattered there. But yeah, taking a lot of recoil though, for sure. And then the Zard comes back in, going for the Tera Normal E-Speed on that. Ooh, that did a chunk. Oh, the Air Slash miss. That is rough. I don't know if that... that might have been able to kill the Zard. I'm not 100% sure. It definitely would have made things much easier. But yeah, that's definitely really, really rough. And then we see the Booster Shocks come on in. And, oh, that gets nuked. Do we see... Okay, we just see... Oh, that did no damage. Wow. That did negative damage. But yeah, we see Raging Bolt claim the kill on Sandy Shocks. I think that had a decent matchup, but I mean, most of the things that had a good matchup into are dead now. So, but yeah, Mega Lop coming in, barely missing the KO on the Raging Bolt, as now the Volt Switch, that doesn't do much damage, and Heracross comes on in. And then we see Guts, so Guts, Tera Normal Facade, possibly. Going for the Trailblaze, trying to just go for dubs here, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be Guts Tera Fighting. Okay, going for the Tera Normal. Oh, that knockoff did no damage. I think this is physically defensive Corviknight. Oh, that Brave Bird did a chunk. How did that Brave Bird do more than a Guts boosted knockoff from Heracross? Okay, that Resisted Facade did not do too much. Is he not close combat? I mean, I could see him being not close combat, or like not running close combat on this, just so then it doesn't die to the follow-up Brave Bird. But yeah, now it kind of just dies here. He just goes for Fake Out. Upper hit. Oh, that is awesome. That is so cool. That is a very funny tag. Mike got hit with the upper hand. That is awesome. I love that. That is really, really funny. Going for the Raging Bolt now on Dragapult, dies, and then the Darm comes on in. He could hard swap. He could just okay. All right, he just sacks it. Doesn't need the diff. I understand it. That is pretty funny. But then yeah, Arcanine comes on in and then just claims the kill on Garm. Very fun match for sure. Unfortunate Air Slash miss, because I do think that really could have mattered, depending on what the investment is on the Arcanine and the Charizard. I don't know if it would have been able to kill, but it at least would have had the shot, I think. And then it also would have like weakened it down a bit more. Maybe you could have sent in something else instead of the Arcanine. So many ands, ifs, or buts. But at the end of the day, Legion got the upper hand on Heracross, so that is freaking hilarious. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this match, and let's get on to the final one now. Alright everybody, welcome to the final match here. We have Victory Stars versus Caps Lock. Caps has been having a tremendously good season, I believe. And then Stars has also been having a fairly good season himself. And now for the matchups. Honestly, here, I think that Ogerpon has an amazing matchup here. Nidoqueen being the main thing that is able to check Ogerpon, I feel like, defensively, whereas everything else gets hit fairly hard. Ryun definitely can switch in and take one, but I don't think it really enjoys taking more than one. Meow, I feel like gets KO'd easily. Mega Maw definitely does. Prima, if it's Power Whip, I definitely think it dies. But Horn Leech, maybe not. Skarm, it probably doesn't die, especially with Sturdy. Actually, no, never mind. It is Mold Breaker, so if it is Sturdy, then it just gets ignored. I do think Ogerpon has a great matchup here, and I think Stars is going to be really forced to try to get hazards up. Good thing is, if he gets any hazards up, they're gonna stay up because he doesn't have any removal unless it is Defog on Landorus. which also is 100% fair if that is the case. I'm not 100% sure if he would be that on this set. I do think Lando is a more defensive set just by looking at the team. I do feel like Palafin and Ogerpon do fairly well as your main offensive pieces, and then the rest are either defensive or support. Miltank, I do think, is Sap Sipper for the Meowscarada, if I had to guess, because, well, I mean, you do have a decent switch into Flower Trick with Ogerpon, and then you also have Tinkaton there as well. So having an additional one, I could understand it. But overall, I do think that Ogerpon specifically is going to be a standout here, and if Stars is able to handle it, I do think they will play in the dub here. And then, of course, Mega Maw is just always scary. I think Mega Maw has a good matchup here. I do think that it does kind of get walled a little bit by defensive Landorus, especially after an Intimidate. But at the same time, Stars has Meowscarada and Primarina to also help with Landorus. And of course, Tera Brioon is very spooky for every team. So let's just get right into it and see how it all turns out. For the leads, we have Ogre Flame just immediately and Meowscarada. Alright, so what do we see here? Okay, we see a swap into Tinkaton as Stars just goes for U-turn. Fairly solid, you know you're outspeeding the Ogerpon. Getting off a little bit of Rocky Helmet chip. Pretty solid. And then Palafin coming on in as Ryun Tera fires. Okay, I mean, hey, for the Tink, I definitely understand it. Also, sick name, by the way. Sick name. Swapping out into the Lando from here. Energy Ball doing a chonk. But now this gets outsped and likely dies. So yeah, going into Skarm. I do the Smackdown. Oh, okay. I see you. Honestly, I would still probably get the hazards up, to be honest. That did a lot. I can't lie. That did a lot. Okay, going for Protect. I'm guessing they're scouting. Yeah, they're just scouting to see what they end up going for. But now that they say that it's U-turn, now they just stay in and then just go for a hit. Or a Tinkaton. Yeah, that also works too. For the Rocky Helmet chip. This Meowscarada is getting really weakened at this point. Going into Gastro here. It's just a special defensive wall. Ooh, Substitute. Earth Power, not really doing too much to this Gastro. This might be a Life Orb. Because we didn't see Black Sludge heal at all. And now we see Skarmory coming in on the Gastro. Miltank coming in as, yep, Skarm gets up the rocks. I think that is very fair. So unless Lando is Defog, those are staying up. And now we see Gastro coming in. Do we see Spike Stack now on this for the Skarmory? No, we don't, because it gets paralyzed. And then we see Encore now after that. And we still don't see it because of the para. Okay, going for Whirlwind. He's just going to be racking up a little bit of Stealth Rock chip. I think this is the perfect time to see if he is Defog. Yep, and we see the Defog on Landorus come on out. So that's a little rough, especially considering that rocks are probably the best option into Ogre Flame. But we do see the Tinkaton coming on out and just getting more whirlwinds. Ogre Flame coming on in now. It has no reason to just not go for a big bonk. Okay, and we see that this Ryun is regen, taking no damage from the Ivy Cudgel. Going for knockoff? Okay. Oh, wait, yeah, of course, we saw that before, because if it was Magic Guard, you would know. Going for more Encore. Wow. Caps just going for the Encore spam. I respect it. Now we see Tinkaton coming on in as Prima swaps out from the Reuniclus slot. And Stealth Rocks go up as Flip Turn goes on in on the Rocky Helmet. And then Nidoqueen, just going to threaten off a Earth Power if I had to guess. Gastro coming on in. I think he should just... I don't know, because this is just going to recover spam. Yeah, this team just has so much longevity. It's really difficult for Stars to be able to break. And now he's just going up for his rocks. Likely just going to defog away again and get up his own rocks later down the line. I respect it 1000%. And then we see Whirlwind yet again on the Ogre Flame that's either going to get big bonked or it's going to get encored. Neither, actually. Landour is coming back in as we see another para from Skarmory. This poor Skarmory cannot move. And then Smackdown as Stealth Rocks go back up. He really does not want that Ogre Flame coming in for free. And honestly, I 1000% get it. Okay, going for Whirlwind as the Ogre Flame comes back out. So he can just be encored or either again. And going for the Lando swap. Man, I'm going to be yapping for a while with this game, aren't I? Neither team has taken an L yet. So then we see more defog and body press coming on out. I do think that is last move. No, not quite last move. This might be Roost. Oh, that EQ though. Barely. Okay. And then we see the Roost coming on out officially. And then EQ claiming the kill on Skarmory. Honestly, I respect it. Nothing else wanting to switch in on this Lando right now. It's in a really good position offensively now at this point. Yeah, now it's just gonna get EQ'd. I think the rest of the team just gets EQ'd, no? Outside of Prima, of course. But, yeah, I don't think there's much that this Prima can really do. Like Moonblast, yeah, but the Gastro is so specially defensive. You can't break it. Ogre Flame coming on in on the Prima, likely trying to tank a Fairy type move. Doing a little bit as the special attack drops, but that doesn't matter. And now just going for Horn Leech, doing a fat chunk. And then I imagine, okay, going for Scald. It did a fair bit, can't lie. But then this Horn Leech is going to still heal you up a decent amount. Maybe I would have swapped into Ryune just because you know that Ryune is going to at least be able to tank any stab move. And its item is already swapped out. Going for Psychic on the Miltank. Doing a fair bit, but I mean, okay, missing the Thunder Wave. That's pretty big. Psychic. We don't see any special defense drop. But now do we see Milk Drink spam? We in fact do see some Milk Drink spam. All he needs is one special defense drop, and I think the Miltank is forced to swap from there. We don't see anything that really resists Psychic outside of Tinkaton, which will die to a follow-up Tera Blast Fire. So I do think it is at least understandable here. And then we see the full para after the T-Wave. Unfortunate, but c'est la vie, it is what it is. Now Gastro coming on in, taking negative damage from this, as now the Spike Stack. Okay, the late game Spike Stack instead of, I mean, I can understand it. Getting a little bit of chip off on Mawile, Nidoqueen, and then Ryuna trying to switch out. I just get it. EQ, ooh, the crit Psychic did a fair bit, can't lie. But I don't think it really ends up mattering too much. Going for the Protect for a little bit extra leftovers chip for the Sucker Punching Mawile. Because I do think he just swaps out for free on the Mawile. I'm not sure exactly into what. Maybe the Ogre Flame. Okay, no, he just does not. Maybe, oh, he doesn't even go for the Sucker Punch. Okay. Yep, then Lando just claims the dub here. Claims the 6-0 dub against Victory Stars. Caps is on a roll this season for sure. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this week over at the MMC Pokemon Draft League. Don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm on my way to 250 subscribers, and I know we can get there by the end of the year with your help. And with that all being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.